Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Talking About Birds, the only Cardinal podcast more error-prone than the Cardinal defense. My name is Nate Heininger, and I am joined, as always, by my co-host, Ben Samorka.
Hey, Nate H., how's it going today, buddy?
I'm uncomfortable with this energy. If you have an idea for the opening bit, text or leave us a voicemail at 848-48-BIRDS. All right, Hambone, we're here at the culmination of a challenge that you inappropriately handed out. If you're
inappropriately, what are you implying by that?
Saying you never stood a chance. If you're new to the show,
I think your boots were shaking a little more than maybe you
if you're new to the show, if you're new to the show,
yeah.
So I have been participating in recreational running for quite a long time now.
Is that what you call it? That's so lame.
Well, I want to find the balance between it's something that I've done for a long time, but I've also never. It's not like a thing that I do all the time that I'm super passionate about, but it is something that I enjoy. So
I think you could just call yourself a runner and not be such a weirdo about it.
For me, it's important that expectations are set properly.
Okay.
And point being, I've done it for a long time, but I've never been like a crazy about it. I guess what I'm saying is, for the amount of time I've done it, I actually think you would expect me to be better than I am. But
I think that defines you and I. For the amount of time we've been doing X, you would expect us to be better.
I tried water skiing for the first time ever about a week and a half ago, and after falling and consuming roughly half of the Lake of the Ozarks as the boat was like slowly tooling around me to give me another go. I honestly said and felt like I don't know why I thought I would be good at this immediately. I only tried like 5 times because my entire family was in the boat and I felt like I was wasting their time just falling over and over and over. I did manage to get the skis flat, but I was never fully upright. So like
seems hard,
curled in a little ball, basically being pulled across the ocean, across the water, but only for like a half a moment. And my mom in the most technologically advanced I've ever seen her created a little GIF of me just smashing into the water over and over and over.
I am texting your mom as soon as this record is done to get that GIF.
So anyway, I thought I'd be much better at it, and I was not. And I'm not joking. My arms and shoulders were sore for longer than I've ever been sore in my entire life for anything. I felt like I could not believe after just like 5 tries how much it felt like my arms had been ripped out of my sockets. Have you ever tried water skiing?
You are a computer boy, so that makes sense to me. No, I don't. If I have, it's so long ago that I can't remember it. I've definitely tubed quite a bit.
Yeah.
I think I've tried wakeboarding to failure, but this was all probably like before high school age. So I really can't speak to it. I do. One time I was riding a tube behind a Ski-Doo, and I fully lost my swim trunks and had to bail on it and got like my naked body like plop across the water, and it really hurt. But I can't remember a time I've tried water skiing. So no, I don't think so.
Well, you should try it.
I wonder if my like 10 years of skiing in the mountains would translate at all. I have no idea.
So I thought, obviously you've skied far, far more than me, but over the past couple of years, I've skied a little bit and have started to feel more comfortable with it. So I did think that would be translatable, and I don't really think it is.
Yeah. water and snow are similar, but they're not that similar, are they, Nate?
Wow. You just blew my mind. With skiing, you're upright and you're trying not to fall down.
Totally.
With water skiing, you're starting down and you're trying to get upright, and something is yanking you at 25 miles per hour. So it felt pretty fundamentally different to me. However, if I actually had managed to get upright, I imagine there's some degree of like overlap there of like the balance and whatnot. But honestly, I don't know because I didn't get upright. A like 10-year-old kid, while I was like getting back into the water or back into the boat, a like 10-year-old kid came skiing by, perfect form, looking great. And so naturally I booed really loudly, not thinking anyone would be able to hear me over the sounds of the boat. And multiple people from that boat looked over at me.
Water sound travels on water really, really well.
They're in a boat. The boat's I thought it'd be too loud. And they looked at me, so I was booing a child. And I don't take it back. It's how I felt, and I try to live my truth. But I did not expect it to.
That is so brave of you. I also think you're just disregarding how like obnoxious and booming your voice is. So
That's fair. So anyway, sidebar off of a sidebar. I've been running for a long time, but it's not something that I'm not. I don't consider myself like an expert at. But it's something I've done a very long time, and it's something that you have virtually never done. And in fact, you've typically insulted people who pursue running as a hobby. And so naturally you found it fit to challenge me to a race.
Yeah.
You've done it both for these sorts of charity 5K things, and you've also challenged me in person to a race, of which I've accepted. So I did the Cardinal 5K and got my time, and you did the Rockies 5K over this last weekend. The stakes are pretty high. The loser has to wear a Dansby Swanson shirt. We establish to what and to win? Is it to a card? Yeah.
We have not established that.
Okay. So we've got to follow up on that.
Yeah.
But you have to, but the loser has to wear this Dansby Swanson shirt.
Yeah.
So Ben, you've now done the race. The table has been set.
Yeah.
How did it go?
I thought it went pretty well. I will say I am not a morning person at all.
Yeah.
Which is probably my biggest barrier to entry to like really, really getting into running, is that these things happen so early. So, my ass got up earlier than the only reason I ever get up this early is for skiing. And that's obviously a different effort level. But so anyways, we show up to the stadium. Everything was great. Get my number. We're all kind of hanging around. Dinger's there. The PA announcer is there.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the running's going pretty well. Overall, in the last leg so I didn't look up the course, which I think I will do next time. Because the course was a lot hillier than I had expected. Yeah. So I actually think I would have been a lot more competitive if I had known the course. And essentially what happened is we had this downhill section on 20th, which if you know Denver at all, that is right next to the ballpark. And I'm thinking, great, we're going to go down this hill and then we're going to cut right. And we're going to go into the stadium, do the track, and then, we'll be done. Because I knew it ended after we did the warning track. But instead of that, we went down the hill, and then we went up a hill, and then we went to the left up another hill. Yeah. And I overdid myself, and I was like, I felt like I was in football practice. I was like heavy breathing, and I was like, okay, I'm going to walk. So I walked for like 30 to 60 seconds, somewhere around there. And then I was able to pick it back up and get on it. All that being said, my final time was 29 minutes and 20 seconds, which really makes me think, if I would have not overcooked myself on that stupid hill at 8:30 in the morning, I would have been a little closer to you. But yeah, I again, it's my first time ever doing it. I was personally proud, but I am a loser. I'll take the L.
All right.
I lost.
Yes, I had come in right like 28 minutes and like 3 seconds or something like that. So first of all, go me. I'm the winner. Haha, you suck.
Sure.
Second of all, I will say that's a pretty good score for something you've really never done before and trained for roughly 3 weeks on.
Yeah.
So I do think with maybe course management. I mean, at the end of the day, you're going up and down those hills no matter what. You can pace yourself, but like,
I guess that's what I'm telling myself. If I would have just maybe eased up a little bit and taken the hill more intelligently, I think I would have not died there towards the end. But
that's the worst part of any of these races is a hill, which is obvious and stupid to say, but like I hate hills. But yeah, I mean, honestly, a sub 10 mile, sub 10 minutes per mile is really good. And what a lot of people set that goal of like 9-minute mile, 10-minute mile, or even higher.
Yeah.
So pretty good result.
I got 406th place. So I was pretty happy about that because there's some fit ass freaks in Colorado. So I felt pretty good about that.
Well, I mean, all of these races are hilarious because they'll be like, it'll be a charity thing. It'll be like the fun bubble run. And there'll be some person who just comes in and absolutely smokes. I remember we did this one quite a while ago, and it was the like color bubble run, and the bit about it
is that to support bubbles in their times of need. Like what the hell are we?
I mean, please don't joke, man. It's a real problem.
Okay. They're popping left and right, Nate. Yeah, they're popping.
We gotta extend. You know what the average lifespan of a bubble is?
4 seconds.
Not great. So it was they're always for some charity, which is a fun element of the whole thing. But this one's even more geared towards like families and, like a lot of people are walking it because like every quarter mile, it was on a big track, and every quarter mile of the track was a huge station that was just pumping out bubbles.
Oh, okay. I'm back on board. That's cool.
And like, the foam is probably a better way to describe it, right? And so like a massive wall of foam, and it was colored foam. So like this one's bright blue, this one's bright pink, etc. And so you have all these kids, all these people running it, and they're having a great time. And there's this one dude who did it in 15 minutes.
Wow.
He did a 5K, 3.2 miles, 3.1-ish miles in 15 minutes.
Damn.
And it's wild. And like these things are like $60. And one like that is just for fun. So I'm like, well, what? It just seemed like such an insane thing to commit your time to. If you can run 3.1 miles in 15 minutes, why are you going to win the bubble run? I imagine this guy like going back to the office being like, yeah, I won the bubble run this weekend at Gateway track. Last weekend, I won the Scooby-Doo mystery run.
Mile 3, they didn't even have the bubbles turned on yet. Yeah, it was too quick for him.
Racking up the medals that everybody gets at the end.
You know what, Nate? I've learned in my extended and dramatic and celebrated running career is that some days you just need a win. And some days that win is putting on the shoes and tying them.
Mm-hmm.
Some days that win is walking out the door. And some days that win is crushing a bunch of 5-year-olds in a bubble run. So I get it. I'm on that guy's side.
Well, in my current efforts towards physical activity, I'm often crushed by children. The kids skiing, in Denver.
Yeah.
I don't know if this happened to you at any of during your 5K, but there's almost always some like absolutely fit like 85-year-old that just burns past me, or like some 10-year-old.
I will say I was pretty focused on the task at hand. I wasn't doing a lot of gawking. But I'm sure that existed.
There was a guy, I don't know if I can perfectly like recreate what he was doing, but this was the Cardinal run. And this guy, there's often these guys that'll be a part of like a group, and you can tell they're like the one guy who does this a ton. And they've convinced like a bunch of people who never do it to go with them. So they're like running and cheerleading the whole time, And this guy he's probably in his mid 40s, but like super fit, looked like a personal trainer. He comes running by. He's like, "You got this. Everyone got this. You got this. You got this." And then mid, "You got this. You got this." He like stumbled a little bit, and he's like, "You got this. You got this." "Oh, rolled my ankle. You got this. You got this." And just kept going as if nothing had happened, but said in the middle of it, "Oh, rolled my ankle," and just kept running. It was pretty incredible.
We are butt boys.
We are butt boys.
So obviously I've challenged you to another run, a run that I think we need to do the same run at the same time. I think that'll be the defining run. I've also off pod challenged you to a weightlifting competition, which you are just completely balking at. And I think that's total bullshit. You do I do your sport. You do my sport.
Weightlifting isn't a sport, and no, I'm just not gonna do it. I just don't want to do that.
Cowardly man.
No, I just don't want to do weightlifting. It sounds horrible.
Okay. Well, at least it's on record that you're
unlike you. I just don't wander in and challenge people at the things that they've done for quite a long time.
Well, I think that makes me more fun than you.
Well, that's fair. But no, I'm now if you want to challenge me to other things that you're good at, consuming pats of raw butter,
that would be good.
You know, being stupid. I think that would be. I think we'd have a real challenge that I'd be willing to compete with you in. But I'm not gonna do weightlifting. But we got to move on. So anyway, congrats me. Sorry, sucks to suck. We'll race in person, and that'll be fun. We've got another thing to talk about.
I'm going to race that race so dirty. You're going down.
I was just thinking, I can imagine, the gun, so to speak, going off, and you're just going to shove me. I already know. 100%. But I'm going to bring gadgets. I think that'll be. I'm gonna bring you down with gadgets.
Okay.
I've been working on my gadgetry.
Yeah. Sounds great.
Little net guns.
You're just going to throw some Legos in front of me.
Yeah. All right. We've got another. This one's at least more Cardinal focused to talk about. So Ben and I have a pretty cool opportunity that we're doing this weekend. Ben's actually traveling back to St. Louis. Head still hanging low from his defeat, I'm sure. We have been invited to Blogger and Podcaster Day at Busch Stadium. And so basically this gets us into the game against the Colorado Rockies, which is hilarious. Yeah. I'm certain that they pick a weekend that they know the ticket sales won't be particularly extravagant, so they can give away tickets like this.
Sure.
So Ben gets to travel all this way to see the Rockies play. And we get to go to essentially a 1 hour press conference with John Mozeliak. And so it'll be us and a bunch of other people in the community, some of which we are friends with. Like I know C70 will be there. I know Kyle was there.
Wait to squeeze the life out of him.
Ooh, getting a big
biggest,
old hug.
Wettest hug I can give.
Wet hug.
Yeah.
I think he just he just canceled his tickets. But yeah, so it should be cool. We get to watch the game in like a party suite, and get to talk to John Mozeliak.
Get to party in a party suite.
And get to talk to John Mozeliak. So a call to action to the listeners. If you have something you want us to ask Mozeliak, we might do it. We have to. We've never done this before, so I don't really know what to expect.
Yeah.
I'm not afraid to ask stupid questions, but we haven't landed yet on what we're gonna actually ask him if we have the opportunity. We actually have done almost no planning on this whole thing.
Maybe unsurprising to the listener, but. I think I have some thoughts. I kind of want to ask, like, we're, similar to the conversation that we were having with Dan Zabrowski last week, which, again, if you haven't listened to that, go back and listen to that show. That's going to be better than this episode. But I kind of want to add, like, I'm very curious about how the Cardinals are projecting their players, what they're looking at. And I'm curious how open and honest John Mozeliak is going to be with that kind of question. But that's kind of where I'm leaning at, is just getting a little more insight into how they're evaluating themselves, how they're projecting, like, within the division, the rest of the team or rest of baseball. Are they doing that? Or are they just looking inward? That's kind of like, to be clear, I have no interest in like saying, first off, how dare you, and taking him to task. Like, this is, I don't view that, or I don't know what your plan is. Maybe you're trying to go hard on him, but I'm more just curious to hear like the inner workings of how they're looking at players and acquisitions and all that nerdy bullshit that I care about.
No, I think if anything, I'm more interested in like his bow tie selection. Is it a representation of his mood of the day? Things like that.
You should ask him where he buys his bow ties. You think he'll be like cagey about it? Ultimately, the bow ties just arrive. And
see, that's the difficult thing is that we have John Mazalek on the show all the time, so it's not like this is actually a big deal to us,
right?
You know,
it's like hanging out with your old buddy and slugging back a couple of ice cold Budweisers.
That's what they say. That's what we do.
While I'm in the loo, I'm going to slug back a Budweiser.
The loo, the thing we all call it.
Yep.
Wow. All right. So anyway, it's pretty cool. We are grateful to actually be included.
Wear? Let me guess. Jeans and a Henley.
Why would you ever think that? No, I will either be
wearing. Look at our TikTok. If you haven't, look at the grid of it. I think Nate is wearing a Henley shirt in 99% of every record. All he does is wear Henleys.
It's a good look. I look good, unlike you and your stupid Colorado Rockies hat on a Cardinal podcast. Traitor.
I rep baseball. Also, the problem is you're always all the way buttoned up. Live a little, Nate. Let those titties out. What are you like? Come on now.
You don't really button the top of a hit like a. This is
as somebody who doesn't own a single Henley. I guess I can't really speak to this.
I don't think you're so. Is that better?
Now we're yes, hell yes. This is the clip that's going on TikTok. Let's go.
All right, I'm letting my freak flag fly.
There is not a single hair on your chest. How old are you?
Got to keep it fresh, Ben. I am entirely hairless on my chest. Thank you for pointing that out. Big bushy beard, though.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. We got to talk about the Cardinals. Yikes. All right. So we're recording Wednesday. They are playing Houston right now, trying to avoid the sweep. They had quite a interesting series against Philly. Also had to avoid the sweep, but it was a really fun win on that Sunday night game and showed some strength of the Cardinals. But overall, we're kind of just where we've now been for the last week and a half, 2 weeks, which is the Cardinals look way better than they did at the start of the season. We're actually getting interesting competitive games. But they're still losing, and they're finding different ways to lose. And there's new problems creeping up, even as new successes are being found. And the team continues to essentially look like a 500 team, which is more or less where they're at right now. But I know we've got some. Let's start by running through some of the actual like actions that have happened in the last week, the transactions.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the big bummer is that our buddy Lars Nootbaar, who by the way was really coming on. Had a really nice month of May before going down, but he's been placed on the IL, 10-day IL with an oblique strain. And Ali Marmol and the Cardinals are basically saying that it's going to be multiple weeks. He's definitely going to eclipse that 10-day period. So we're going to be Nootless for a while, maybe in a majority of the month of June, which is a big problem. Because of the consistencies of the offense. Thank God for Burley, doinking dongs all over the place,
dude.
But
him and Gorman doinking dongs left and right.
But he's not the most. I think it doesn't matter who the most important player is. He's a key piece to this offense, and to the outfield, and to being good, and to not sucking. And this is, I think, a huge loss for the Cardinals when you kind of need every little thing you can get out of this roster because of the way that it's been constructed poorly, some might argue. But I think a huge L, huge bad. And in a corresponding move, shortstop Jose Fermin has been called up, and his role is unclear to me.
Yeah. Well, he's clearly just now like the next man up, right? He's riding that taxi.
Is he going to play in the outfield?
I would be surprised, but we love sticking we love sticking people in the outfield regardless of their capabilities out there.
I say that because, like, okay, if Arenado needs a day off, you could put Donovan there, or you could put Gorman there. If Winn needs a day off, those days are obviously going to Brandon Crawford. If Gorman needs a day off at second base, they should go to Donnie. So, and obviously Fermin's not going to take over first base because Burley would take over that.
Right.
So, like, if he's not playing the outfield, is he our DH? Is he a... Does he profile as a DH?
No, I really just think he's the bench bat, and he's the utility infielder who, in the event of an injury in the middle of a game or something like that, that's where he's coming in.
Yeah.
I don't see him getting many starts unless you're also giving Donovan a day off.
All that being said, I think it's relevant to note that he's got 32 games at AAA this year, and he's basically dominated. He has 6 home runs. He has 10 stolen bases, 0 caught stealing. He has 19 walks, Nathan. 19 of them,
Benjamin,
against 5 strikeouts.
Yeah.
He's batting .346, .461 on base percentage, was the .615 slugging. I mean, he is absolutely dominating at AAA. I haven't watched a lot of AAA games this year. It kind of I don't see that. It's kind of shocking to me that he's doing that because we haven't really ever seen anything like that from him. But I don't know. There's some positive things to look at there.
There's that quad A player, who, and then we've talked about it a fair amount at this point, but there is a perception that the pitching quality between AAA and the majors has never been the difference in quality has never been greater or hasn't been greater in quite a long time. But all you have are the numbers of minors to go off of. So it's like, it does prove he has some ability, but
is the pitching so bad in AAA that it would boost his OPS by 300 points? Like,
well, I mean, some of these minor leagues, the offensive environment is pretty wild. I don't think it's this one, but like PCL and whatnot, you'll hear about that where like the standard batting average is like 350 or whatever.
Sure. So, yeah, I don't know. That's where we're at as far as that's concerned. Matt Carpenter's still getting at bats too. Brandon Crawford hit a home run. He doinked a dong.
He did doink a dong. It was I love all the headlines. Brandon Crawford's coming out party and Brandon Crawford's arrived, and which I thought was really funny because he made a pretty good play and he hit and he doinked a dong. And it was great. I still don't love him being on the team, but obviously it is what it is. We gotta have these approaching 40-year-old guys on the team. We've got to have them.
I mean, it does the roster is built in a way that doesn't really make sense. With especially when you have Fermin on the same team as Brandon Crawford.
Yeah.
Whether or not Brandon or Jose Fermin would actually outperform him, you'd have to make that bet, right?
Yeah. Well, at least you would know.
He's 25.
Yeah, exactly. Look at Edmundo Sosa.
No.
What he's doing.
No. My goodness, that jack that he hit, I didn't know the man had that in him.
I know.
He's
had a few of them this year.
They said that where he hit that home run, there has not been a ball hit there since 2022.
That's wild.
He plays on the same team as Bryce Harper and Kyle Schwarber.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Yeah. It's incredible.
He's making a complex situation for when Trey Turner comes back. Like, not really. Like, he's not actually going to take at bats, but they're going to have to find him playing time.
Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty wild. At least Jojo Romero, other than the one game this week, has been incredible. He's been one of the best relievers in baseball. So
everybody jumping on Jojo and Ollie for that. It's like he has been. I think I looked it up. Yeah. He's been like the 12th or 11th best reliever in baseball, all of baseball this year. I would bet on Jojo than pretty much anyone else other than Helsley, even though he's outperformed Helsley. Like I would have made the same bet. But
I saw some of that. I think you were on Twitter on it about it as well, and I was like, no, this is not one to get mad about. This is just the inevitable small sample size of a reliever. They're going to get touched every once in a while.
I did post on X about it.
Cool. People love hearing about that, don't they?
I posted on X.
Wow.
It's so unclean as compared to I tweeted. All right. St. Louis Cardinals have also sent right-handed pitcher Giovanni Gallegos on a rehab assignment with the Memphis Redbirds.
DudeWaffles.
That's what we all call them. First appearance didn't go well. Not worried about that yet. With the Keenan Middleton news, which we kind of speculated about this on last week's episode, that he probably was going to be done. It's official. He is done. He ain't coming back. No mo. And
Keenan Middleton, more like Keenan out a ton.
Damn it. I was trying to give no response to that, and I accidentally laughed. Take it again, Nate. Take it again. One more time.
Keenan Middleton, more like Keenan out a ton. Thanks, dog. That's good. Yeah. I needed that.
Since Keenan is out a ton, that definitely makes DudeWaffles a lot. This is the dumbest sentence I've ever said in my life.
This show sucks.
This show is bad. Right. It kind of makes his role a lot more important, and we kind of need him to turn around. That's all I was trying to say, Nate.
Yeah. I mean, the taxation of the bullpen is becoming more and more evident. We've been talking about it for a while. It's exactly what happened last year. It's been delayed a little bit this year because the Cardinals have had middling starting rotation rather than god-awful starting rotation like they had last year. So it's only taken until June for the bullpen to start to get overtaxed rather than like the second week of April in 2023. And a bullpen is always this sort of revolving doors thing. You expect someone to miss all season. You expect someone to pop out that you never saw coming at all. But we are at that point where it's obvious there needs to be some sort of change, whether it's just the starting rotation comes together and lasts longer in the games, or we start to get some fresh arms with some competence back in there. So it doesn't have to be Kittredge, Romero, Helsley every single time a game is considered competitive. And Gallegos, who has been that dude for the Cardinals for years now, is a perfect candidate for it. He was pretty bad this year and through parts of last year. And obviously, like you said, his rehab has not started great. But I don't know. I'm not ready to give up on DudeWaffles. He, again, has an incredible track record. So hopefully he can come back and, help give these guys some extra days off.
Yeah. One other pitcher I wanted to talk about till we go to the next segment, or before we go to the next segment, is Andre Pallante. So he obviously jumped into the starting rotation. He faced off against Cincinnati on May 29th. And looked pretty good enough that we were like, yeah, he should absolutely have another start and see, how it goes. He went 6 innings. He only gave up 3 hits. He did allow 3 walks, 4 strikeouts, but no earned runs. And I think everybody was excited about that. This week on June 4th, he started against the Astros. I think obviously a much better team than the Reds. He only went 3 innings. Gave up 6 hits, gave up 6 earned runs, still had 3 walks, only 1 strikeout, and a big bomb. Not to mention he hit Bregman on a slider. He really just seemed like he didn't know where any of his pitches were going, especially the fastball. And I was kind of hoping that it was going to be a sloppy first inning and then he was going to figure it out. He did not. The Cardinals ultimately lost that game. And it was a good game. I will say they fought back, and there was more doinking of dongs that definitely happened. But is Pallante your 5th starter next time around? Does he maintain that role, or we chalk this off to just a bad start?
Well, the problem, to answer that question, if I say no, I have to have someone else to choose. And
is that the question we asked John Mozeliak? Who the hell is your 5th starter?
So it feels like it has to be Pallante unless the Cardinals are ready to pull the trigger on someone new from AAA,
right?
Which they don't seem willing to do right now. Apparently, the Padres are trying to get Crochet from the White Sox, which I would love to see the Cardinals make an effort like that too.
Yeah,
but the Padres are obviously willing to dump their entire prospect. I can't believe they even have any prospects left to get a guy like Crochet.
I think that more speaks to what they're doing out there. The fact that they still have Jackson. Why can't I think of his last name? Jackson Merrill and Ethan Salas. Like they still have really high end prospects. It's almost like they're developing them in house and drafting well, or I don't know where it's coming from.
But yeah, I mean, I guess we keep going with Pallante. There is that upside. He needs to figure out his secondaries. You can see it. You can see where what a good Pallante looks like. We've seen it a little bit. And it takes time to develop at the major league level. This dude's been tossed around a bunch. I think it's unfair to say like, oh, you got lit up by the Astros, a team that has struggled this year, but is still, I mean, you're facing some of the best hitters in baseball on that team.
Yeah.
And he got torched by him, which a lot of people get torched by. Jordan Alvarez, right. Alex Bregman, Jose Altuve, Jeremy Pena, Kyle Tucker. It's quite the lineup. And you look at their record, you think, maybe they're not that good this year. And it's like, it's more been problems on the pitching and whatnot. Yeah. Kyle Tucker looked like he broke his shin.
Oh my God.
The fact that he tried to get back into the box and then like immediately was like, never mind.
Yeah.
Made me think we need like a clock on how long a dude can just pace around in the batter's box, getting ready to taking it back.
The team did go to, or the game went to shit right after that. So they iced out Kyle Gibson for like 7-8 minutes and then lost the game basically right after that. So I don't think you're wrong. Although there is a coldness to being like, hey buddy, your leg's about to fall off. Either shit or get off the pot. Let's go.
Yeah. No, I know.
But they probably should do that. That's probably the competitive move to make.
Yeah. Yeah. But anyway, if it's not Pallante, who is it? And I guess I'm fine with giving Pallante another shot. But hopefully as we get, if the Cardinals are still in this sort of record with this sort of distance from the Brewers, I'm hopeful that they're going and trying to acquire a starter to make a run at it. But I can imagine that they're waiting to see how this next month goes before we really get close to that.
Right.
All right. So we've come to the end of the month of May, and we thought it would be a interesting exercise to kind of look back at the whole month's results and talk about some highlights and maybe some lowlights as well. Ben, how do you want to structure this? What do you want to talk about first?
Let's talk about the good stuff first. Is that cool?
Sure. Arenado just hit a bomb. Cardinals go back to the bullpen, the same bullpen that they've used at every single game. But I'm feeling good. Cardinals are winning right now against the Astros. So let's start with the good stuff.
Yeah, that didn't happen in May, Nate. So we're not talking about that right now.
But I'm saying I'm feeling positive.
I'm just saying respect the format.
It's funny. The more you talk, the less positive I feel.
That's the show. All right. The Cardinals went 13-12 in May, which was one better than 500. So I think we can be happy about that.
Sure.
Yeah. Right. It's kind of how to.
It's better. Better is good.
It is better. Inarguably better.
Yeah.
Better so we'll than take April. That.
Yeah.
Some actual good news, Nathan Heiniger, is that the Cardinals had the fourth best WRC plus in the month of May. What do you think about that? Would you have guessed that?
No. Well, is that in the league or in all of MLB?
In all of MLB. You phrased that confusingly, and I hate you for it.
I would not have guessed fourth. I think it's pretty clear that the Cardinal offense has been pretty good in May, but I definitely would not have expected it to be the fourth best.
Only teams above them: Philadelphia, Milwaukee, which is annoying and stupid, and the New York Yankees because
which is basically just Judge and Soto.
Oh my God, they have been incredible. I really hope that they both participate in the home run derby this year. I don't think that they will, but I think that would be a lot of fun, and I want to see them go against each other, and we could all enjoy that. But man, they've been so good. But yeah, I mean, it's the group of teams that are clustered is very funny to me. They are tied with the Padres. And then the Royals are right behind them, which I don't think at the beginning of the year, I don't think I would have said that the Royals and the Cardinals would have similar offenses. But here we are. That was the month of May. You have to be happy about that. You have to be happy that the young guys have been performing. And that's what I want to talk about next. Gorman, Newt, Winn, Burley, and Yvonne have all had a great month. Gorman has been on a power surge recently that has been, I think, making us all remember why he is going to be the future of Cardinals baseball. We already talked about Newt's success. He had a 370 OBP in the month of May. Masyn Winn, his second real month in the big leagues, puts up a 128 WRC plus with all the other things included with his speed and defense and all that fun stuff. Burley has been hitting some dongs, and Ivan Herrera, this shocked me, walked almost 10% of the time in the month of May. So all of those things you're seeing real progress and real performance from our group of young dudes.
Yeah. And it's been a lot of fun. It's actually been sort of it's like it is one half of what we needed the Cardinals to do in order to be a really successful offense this year. The other half is the veterans to do what they're expected to do,
right?
Which has not really been the case. But when you consider like the long-term scope of the Cardinals and our fandom of them beyond just this year, you got to be excited about this. In particular, Masyn Winn, who we all thought would develop at the major league level and his bat would come around in time. I really did not anticipate it happening this fast. I do expect still some regression, some growing pains, some need for adjustments as pitchers figure him out. But he's hit 3 home runs in the last 18 games or so. And I absolutely love his plate approach. I think the batting average is real. I think it'll come down to some degree, but I think he can hit for average at the major league level already. And with that power starting to come, and he's not a small guy. He looks like a small guy in some ways because he's sort of wiry, but he's like 6'2" and could really fill out. I don't want to get too excited here, but if he's starting to show some power already, I'm thinking like what a 24, 25-year-old Masyn Winn could look like.
I want to do is think about a 24 or 25-year-old Masyn Winn really filling out that uniform. I agree with everything you said. I think he's sexy. I love looking at him. I think that's what you were talking about, right? Mostly.
Yeah. Of course.
No, I think like all those things are true. He's been fantastic. I think that the defense needs to get a little more steady. That'd be like the one thing I could pick on.
Yeah.
But like this is purely eye test, mumbo jumbo, whatever. But he just looks like a big league player. He has, I don't know. It's just watching him play, watching him go about it. He just looks like he knows what he's doing. And that goes a long way when you're watching a player every single day. He looks poised, ready for the moment. And he, like you're talking about his plate approach, he really looks like he has a plan. And I think we're seeing him, you're talking about the home runs. I think we're seeing him throw out that A swing a couple more times a game, which has been really, really fun. But yeah, I could just talk for the next hour about how much I love Masyn Winn and how great he's been playing and how much fun he is.
Yeah. I think the defense is good to check in on. That it was his calling card. It was sort of what got him to the majors. There is still some growing pains. He's leading the team in errors. There's been a fair amount recently. The entire team is loading up on errors right now. And when you do look at Masyn Winn's StatCast page, he's got a big fat blue on range, which is interesting. Now his arm strength is incredible. We all can see that. And he's in the, what does it have? He's in the 97th percentile of arm strength, which is, I'm surprised it's not just 99th percentile, but I think he'll get there.
I think that it doesn't speak to his true arm talent. I think that speaks to him kind of reeling it in a little bit. Because I think if he was just showing off, he would be 99th percentile.
Yeah.
But I have to imagine they'd be like, Masyn, if you throw the ball at 98 miles per hour, it'll get almost
accurate.
every single out that you're. Yeah. It'll do it. I'm sure those are the conversations that him and Brandon Crawford are talking about. Back to speaking to his value on the team,
but his range factor is looking pretty bad. So I don't know if that's just he's still getting comfortable. The game is faster at this level. He's it's in his head. I don't know.
I'm not worried about that with how few games we have played. I think that will he's got all the skills. I'm sure that there is some part of positioning that he needs to get better at, some part of anticipation that he needs to get better at. But I'm not worried about that at all.
I'm not either. And defensive metrics take the longest to normalize.
Right.
It's a little surprising when you know of him as his reputation of being defense first, really. And then you look at this and you see he's actually not been particularly good. But I do agree with you. And I think, people develop at different levels, different range, develop is not a linear, and we're pretty happy with the way his bat's been developing. So if it's right now he's putting his time in the cage and all that instead of defensive drills, I think we're okay with that.
Well, that's what I was just going to say. I think it needs to be recognized how unbelievably difficult it is to be an above average hitter and fielder. That there's so much work and talent and time involved in that. It is not as easy as just, I've always been good at catching the ball. You have to work on that. Nolan Arenado works on it. Everybody does.
Yeah.
Now, still talking about May, and speaking of Nolan, and I'm going to throw Goldie into this, as we kind of talked about, the vets are not pulling their weight. Goldie and Nolan in the month of May combined for 0.3 F WAR, which is pretty bad. That is, I don't really know what to say about it other than they're just not doing the things that they need to be doing. They are supposed to be the motor that drives the offense. And I mean, Goldschmidt's striking out in the month of May over 30% of the time. Nolan Arenado is hit a couple home runs. It feels like it's 2 months of them being bad. I don't know when we're supposed to start actually hitting the panic button. It is still very, very hard for me to believe that they have both just completely fallen off and become replacement level players this quickly. But this is the age of when that kind of thing starts to happen.
Sounds like they maybe should have gotten the vaccine.
Yeah. I'm glad we brought that up.
I normally don't try to bring that back up, but it is, they're like the only two, and then they've been not great ever since. But anyway,
you're not wrong. And look at what Albert Pujols did that season after he was confirmed back. He only had the greatest second half in Cardinals history. So,
and then of course Paul Goldschmidt won a MVP. So I'm kind of joking. It is. It's sad. Like Goldschmidt. It's one thing. He's 36, and we've had little moments of there's been Goldschmidt is back 6 times this season already, which, speaks to the little flashes that he's had and that he hasn't been completely helpless. Arenado's hit a few bombs, but he's been the one that has been more alarming. And at this point, we're outside a small sample size for him.
Yeah.
I don't know enough about this to be able to understand how a Hall of Fame player just suddenly becomes a league average at best player, seemingly overnight, and without much to point to a root cause of it. But it's disappointing, to put it lightly.
Yeah, I mean, even last year, it wasn't a great year, but he was an above average player. His glove was above average, his bat was above average. It wasn't all-star level, but he is, if you look at his Fangraphs page right now, he is a bad offensive player, a bad defender. He has total for 0.5 WAR on the season. He is a replacement level player. He's only 33. it's hard for me to believe as well, but these things happen. So yeah, I don't really have much else to say about that other than it is worrisome, and we are here, we are in it,
Yeah.
and
Well, he's been dropped in the lineup. He's now batting
yeah,
like sixth, which is, makes sense. And he's owed a ton of money for the next 3 seasons. So, it makes you wonder, like, what do the Cardinals do in this situation, other than just run him out every day and hope he figures it out.
They were talking. An angry Nolan is a scary Nolan. That's what Newt was saying, and we're finding out that it's not that scary. It's maybe unfun in the clubhouse. I bet he's not super fun to grab a cup of coffee with right now.
I don't know that he ever was, let alone now that he's struggling.
Yeah. I don't really have anything positive. Maybe he'll go on a homer binge here. Maybe that poke into the Crawford boxes that happened earlier today will get him going. But
that's the one thing I keep leaning back on, is that, like, guys have dips in their career. We talked about Altuve earlier. He had a couple like difficult seasons, and then all of a sudden he was back. It does happen. Goldschmidt went from, he was MVP level player, had a couple down years, and then won the MVP again.
Yeah.
So and Arenado is young enough that it absolutely could happen. He could wake up one day and something's clicked and he's back to the Arenado of old. It is not a good sign that everything has taken another step down this year, defense and offense. So he's definitely not trending in the positive direction. But I guess we just have to hope and maybe we start to see him getting more days off, and just he stops being the center of this team, which he had been for a couple of years.
Yeah, it just hasn't gone as I expected.
Yeah.
I think everyone could say that, including Nolan Arenado, the Cardinals, the Rockies, the world at large. All right, moving down the line, Kittredge did not dominate. He put up a 5.73 ERA in 11 innings in the month of May. His XFIP suggests that he may have been a little unlucky. We talked about this to a certain degree. I am not super worried about that number. I think it is more they rode this horse one too many times and he got worn out, and the Cardinals need to have more arms in the bullpen, even though it feels like we had enough to start the season, but here we are. But yeah, Kittredge, really not a great month. Of course, for a reliever, that's just a couple of bad outings, but it doesn't look great.
Yeah, I think it was more just things leveling out a little bit. He was basically untouchable for April, and then May it balanced out. Because if you look at, as you mentioned already, but the overall underlying metrics for the season, he has a 2.88 ERA and then a 3.06 XFIP. So that's a really small gap. So basically his results have been slightly better than his process, but not anything like remarkably. So I think he got really lucky in April. It regressed a little bit in May, and he's ultimately found himself right in the middle of those two, which is still an incredibly effective reliever. So I'm not too worried about it, unless he has to pitch 4 or 5 innings a week every week for the rest of the season. In which case, 34-year-old reliever coming off injury, it's just not going to work.
It won't. So I really want to quick talk about a couple of starting pitchers as well. Sonny Gray, he did take a little bit of a step back. He didn't have his best. It wasn't like his first month with the Cardinals. He was not as lights out. But he still had a great month. 28 innings with a 3.77 ERA and almost 11 strikeouts per 9. So I think we need to acknowledge. I feel like he was getting a little bit of trouble. He had one start in particular that wasn't good, but outside of that, he was still fantastic. And then I kind of wanted to pick on Miles. Miles hasn't been great, although he had a pretty good start against the Houston Astros today, which is really helped out. But his ERA is currently 1.5 runs above his XFIP. So we can suspect that he's maybe getting a little unlucky, although with the balls going over the wall, that is just a problem.
Yeah.
Something that I thought was interesting when I was taking a look at his performance, and this was for the entire year, not just the month of May, was that Statcast really, really likes a stinker. He's a little
we
stinker.
really like your stinker.
Oh, God. I mean, that guy, he's well put together. He's got a nice caboose on him. But Statcast really likes a sinker. It's one of the best in baseball. It's in the 93rd percentile of all sinkers. Stuff Plus really only the Fangraphs metric really only likes his slider. And it says that he has the ninth worst four seam in baseball, which is really, really bad because the names that are around him are terrible. So I do think that there are adjustments that the Cardinals could make and that Miles could make to improve his season. I do think that, we've talked about this for a month or so at this point. Like, throw your better pitches more often. Be a sinker slider guy.
Throw the stinker.
Throw the stinker, and then hit him with the slider. And I think we're probably going to have a lot more success. I don't know why the Cardinals seem to be so boneheaded in the category of like throwing your worst pitch more often than other more modern teams do. It is kind of ass backwards to me. I don't really get it.
It feels like almost every time we see one of these stories of a pitcher going from one team to another team and they suddenly have success, they ask, what was the success? And this is purely anecdotal, but it feels like 9 times out of 10, they're like, oh, they told me to throw this more and this less, and now I'm good.
Yeah.
Like we saw that with Jordan Montgomery, right? When he went to the Yankees.
From the Yankees.
And so, I don't know. It certainly seems like that's one of the most controllable elements of a pitcher that you can change on a day-to-day basis. And I would imagine, and is one of the most like data-filled things.
Right.
Yeah.
Just make the change. If your fastball sucks, stop throwing it.
Yeah.
Or throw it 1% of the time.
Yeah.
It is confusing. All right, that's all the May stuff I wanted to blabber on about.
All right. Well, we've got some series to talk about and some league news, but before we do, we would like to remind everybody that this show is supported on Patreon, patreon.com/talkingaboutbirds. If you enjoy the show and want to support its continued existence and the time and effort that we put in every week to bring it to you, consider joining the Patreon. Subscribers at any level get access to our private Discord server. It's the Bird Scored tweet, baby. We're having a good time in there. It's a great place to get away from the horrible fractured landscape that is current social media. If you want to hang out with other good baseball fans and people who listen to the show and support the Cardinals like we do, it's a cool place. We got our fantasy baseball league that's been going strong. Ben is getting crushed in that, as is the usual. Wow. I'm like right middle of the pack. Unfortunately, C70's all Cardinal draft, as expected, has not gone well. But you know what? He's committed to the bit, and that we can appreciate. But anyway, talking about birds, or patreon.com/talkingaboutbirds. Thank you to all of our patrons and to those considering. We really appreciate it. And if you join at any of the levels above the basic, you also get a free t-shirt. We've got a bunch of cool t-shirts that I think you'll actually like to wear. They don't have me and Ben on them.
Listener Steven, who I went to a game with earlier this week, said that it's his favorite baseball shirt.
Wow.
And I thought, wow.
There you go. They're good. They're good shirts. You can just get the shirt you want also without joining the Patreon at talkingaboutbirds.com. There's a link to it there. If you can't join the Patreon, we would appreciate if you take a minute or two to leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform. It really does help. Ben, where can people find us elsewhere online?
Yes, we are on Twitter at Talking About Birds. We're on Instagram at Talk. Oh God, I already messed this up. We're on Twitter at Talk About Birds. I don't know. We should just delete Instagram. We should delete everything. We should delete the podcast. On Instagram, we're at Talking About Birds. We are on TikTok. The show is available on YouTube. If you prefer to listen on YouTube, we are there, and you can look at our faces on TikTok. Show's also available on Spotify. You can email us any thoughts or questions, concerns, whatever you might have, to talkaboutbirds@gmail.com. You can find all of that information, shirts and more, at talkingaboutbirds.com. And of course, as always, you can call us and leave a voicemail or send us a text message to 848-48-BIRDS. That is 848-482-4700. 4737.
Yes, please call. Anything, questions, ideas for the show, comments, etc. Let us know. We're always happy to receive on that line. All right, so we've got a couple of series coming up.
Yeah.
There's been, I don't know if you've caught this. There's been a lot of discussion. The Cardinals actually have an incredibly simple strength of schedule for like the next 40 games. So there's, I think, like 6 games of the next 40 are against teams with a over 500 winning percentage.
Right.
So if there was ever a time for this team to get together and to make up some ground in the standings, it's starting now. And that starts with a 4-game series against the Rockies here at Busch Stadium.
Hell
of
yeah.
which we will be in attendance for one, and I am going to be in attendance for another one. I get to see the Rockies maybe 5 or 6 times this season play against the Cardinals, since I'm likely going out to your world in September for that series. Ben, you're the man on the ground.
Yeah.
What can you tell us about your Denver Rockies?
Colorado Rockies is how they're referred to, you idiot. I think a good way to describe the Colorado Rockies right now is that I went to a game earlier this week, and Elias Diaz, who I'm a fan of, was their starting catcher, and Jacob Stallings, the most glove-first catcher of all time, was their DH. Now, he has actually had an okay start in very, very limited play, but that speaks to the depth of this team. They are bad. They are bad in a myriad of ways. Not only are their players not all that great, they play a bad brand of baseball. And by that, I mean they overuse their starters. Their starters will get hammered, and then they will go to their bullpen late, and their bullpen is bad. So it's just a bad team. It's good news. I will say, I think if you're going to one of the games this weekend, it may be very well the last time you get to see Charlie Blackmon play in real life. And while he is a diminished player, I think he is a Hall of Very Good, one of my favorite players, especially living in Colorado for the past decade. He's just the man. Ryan McMahon is having a solid year. Elias Diaz is also having a solid offensive year for a catcher. And Brenton Doyle might be the best center fielder in baseball whose name you don't know. He's had a little bit of offense that has been nice this year, but defensively, he is incredible. And his arm is better than anyone in baseball, in my opinion. He has an absolute cannon. So there's a couple of fun things. Outside of that, Austin Gomber, former Cardinal, he's actually had a pretty good year. Ryan Feltner, probably a name that nobody knows, and there's no real reason to know. But Ryan Feltner could be a good player at some point. His ERA is bad. He had a really bad start this week, but the guy's got good stuff, and when it's all clicking, he can shut teams down. I cannot tell you how bad their bullpen is. It is sad to watch. So if you don't get to one of their subpar starters, once you get into the bullpen, it is a free for all. I don't really have much to add other than it's just bad. Nolan Jones is currently hurt. A fairly exciting rookie prospect that the Cardinals are interested in, or the Rockies are interested in, Jordan Beck, is also hurt. So we'll miss those guys. But yeah, that's really all she wrote. This team is bad. The Cardinals should dominate them, especially at home on their own soil. I watch a lot of Rockies baseball, and I got nothing nice to say.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this series because this should be a good chance for the Cardinals to fix a few things and just have some fun baseball games again. Speaking of fun baseball games, the Cardinals have one in Houston. Michael is 6 strong, and then the trio, they went Romero, Kittredge, and Helsley to close it out. Don't fix what ain't broken. All right. So after that, the Pirates come to St. Louis for 3. We've seen the Pirates already. The Pirates started off hot again. I still don't think they're quite ready for, they're not going to compete for a playoff position this year, but they might have the 2 most exciting starting pitchers in baseball right now. Paul Skeens and Jared Jones. I saw a graphic going around earlier today, and it was hardest pitches thrown by a starter in 2024, and all 10 were either Paul Skeens or Jared Jones.
Yeah.
And so that two-headed monster is incredible, and I hate that they're Pirates because they're a lot of fun to watch, and I'm a big fan of both of them. But after...
I'm really high on Mitch Keller. I think his stuff is great. I think they have 3 really solid starting pitchers.
Yeah. After that, it does kind of there's still some names in there. O'Neal Cruz, Henry Davis, who's supposed to be sort of their catcher or outfielder of the future, bat first kind of guy. He's back up after a horrible start to his career. We'll see how that looks. Brian Hayes, always going to play a solid third. Every once in a while can get behind a ball, but for the most part is a ground ball expert.
Kutch, both sides of the ball.
Yeah. Kutch is there having a good time. Brian Reynolds still there doing his thing.
Brian Reynolds is great.
He is.
It's too bad he's on that team because I think he is a great player.
Yeah. So the Pirates can win games, especially if you're facing either of or any of those 3 starters, which odds are you'll face most of them in a 3-game series. And their bullpen's okay, but they're also very beatable. Their lineup is pretty thin, so if you can keep their bats down and do anything against their rotation, you can still win the game. So should be a better series as far as the challenge goes than the Rockies, but still is, I think, a winnable series. But frankly, the Pirates and the Cardinals are kind of in the same camp right now as far as ultimate results and whatnot. So I try not to like talk down on the Pirates too much, because in some ways they have their future looks even brighter than the Cardinals right now.
Well, it's hard to scoff at them too hard with Jared Jones and Paul Skeens and O'Neal Cruz, like guys whose ceilings could not be higher.
Right.
Quinn Priester, also a prospect that's fairly well regarded, that hasn't totally clicked in just yet. But it looks very likely that we'll draw a Skeens start looking at the schedule. And I'm looking forward to that because he is fun to watch, and Jared Jones right there with him. So looking forward to that series.
Yeah, I like the Pirates. They're a fun sort of rival to have. They've been obviously pretty down for a while now, but when the Pirates are good, I think it's more fun. I think it's more fun as a Cardinals fan to have a good Pirates team.
No doubt. One other thing before we get to league news, I wanted to hit on by the time our next episode comes out, this game will be happening that day. And I just wanted to call out that we have the Rickwood field game against the Giants.
Yeah.
It's a 1 game. The series against the Giants is more than 1 game, but it'll be 1 game. It is the oldest professional baseball park in the United States. It was built in 1910, by some weird guy that we don't need to talk about, and is served as the home ballpark for the Birmingham Barons and the Birmingham Black Barons of the Negro League. So it'll be a celebration of the Negro Leagues and just old-timey baseball. So really looking forward to that. And man, the Giants are having a bad time, but we'll talk about that more next week.
Yeah. I love these sorts of games. Anything that highlights the history of the game, and it's always fun to see major league games at small stadiums and small fields and whatnot.
Agreed.
All right, let's run through some league news. We got just a little bit to talk about this week.
Yeah, more gambling news. Stop betting on baseball or around baseball. Honestly, if you're a baseball player, just don't bet on anything. That is my advice to all the baseball players listening right now.
That advice, of course, brought to you by FanDuel, FanDuel.com.
Well, this news did come at an interesting time. I don't know if you saw, but FanDuel is in the process of acquiring Bally Sports right now, and it's 18 networks. So, not that that's all that different from Bally owning them, but it is funny the way baseball messages. So, anyways, there was a slew of players that are taking some level of bans and fines, but former Padres minor leaguer Tucupita Marcano, who has played some Major League Baseball, is banned for life. Got the big one. The report came out. The Athletic had a nice write-up on it. There were some other outlets that were writing up on this. He bet over $150,000 in his betting career, and he was unsuccessful. In the large part, lost a lot of money. And it came out that he bet on Pirates games while he was a member. He was on the Pirates 40-man roster. He was injured at the time that it actually happened, but he did the dumbest thing. I just can't believe it. He bet on, not only did he bet on baseball, but he bet involving games of the team that he was associated with.
Yeah.
So,
it's like the exact worst one.
And I'll I want to be empathetic. Maybe this guy is working through an issue, an addiction. Maybe there's more going on to it.
Sure.
That's the only way it would really make sense to me. But it's the one thing you really just can't do.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty wild. You'd think that, I don't know, you would assume that at this point, that is pretty well known knowledge. Everything is tracked and everything can be found. So why risk it?
They bet
and then
on legal gambling sites, like with their names and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. And you got to laugh at how bad he was.
Yeah.
I have some empathy for the guy too. Like you're saying, like, it's probably some version of a gambling addiction and this is horrible. And he's basically ruined his career and maybe, all of his life for this. But also it's pretty remarkable how bad he was.
Yeah.
He won like 4% of his bets, which is insane.
Well,
it's like
it was all parlays.
Yeah.
And I'm not a sports bettor at all. I'm not really a gambler at all. I like my money. I'd rather have it.
But what if you could double it?
But the parlay nature, that's like the worst way to bet. Like so many things have to go your way.
It's the moonshot.
Yeah.
It's the moonshot,
It's so... If you're a degenerate gambler out there and you're doing parlays, good for you. It just, I can't do it. I'm not a sports bettor either. Fantasy baseball is as far as I go, as far as like putting money into a game involving sports. Yeah.
It's pretty wild. I kind of feel bad for him, but also, come on, it's like the thing everyone knows not to do. I do think it's interesting. Some of these other guys only got year bans.
Yeah.
Which I did not think that there was a stratification of punishment for betting on baseball, but I think it must be like one of the guys, it was like $80.
Yeah.
So I'm, I think it is fair to be like, okay, like he doesn't necessarily need to be banned for life for betting $80.
Yeah.
But so that, I don't know. I was a little surprised there's obviously some sort of threshold.
Yeah. Well, that is why I hit on Tucapita Marcano for actually betting on a game that he was involved with on the team. That is the line. Like that is why Pete Rose is banned. That's what the Blacks like. Betting on baseball is straight up bad. Just don't do it. But betting on baseball when you have any affiliation with the team is that's how you get a lifetime ban. I was reading about this. They're banned from betting on any version of baseball. They could not, a professional, an MLB player could not go to a high school game in the county or whatever and bet on that game. That is against, as written, that is against the rules. So it is pretty clear.
Yeah. I think that's fair. Like just across the board, just don't bet on baseball. You are in baseball, don't bet on the sport. That's as clear as it can.
You can bet on anything else.
Yeah. Well, I think that's important to call out. Like betting on sports is not banned for people. It's just simply betting on baseball. And then you also have to be aware of local laws.
Right. Well, which Ipe like Mizuhara, that's his whole problem. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not to mention he stole like $4 million from his friend.
The big problem is he stole millions from Ohtani, but also the thing that got him caught essentially is that he was betting, doing illegal sports betting.
Ugh. Don't bet. Just, I don't know. Take that money and go buy yourself an ice cream. Oh, dude, Nate. Mary and I, the other day we were like, I really want to go get some ice cream. We went to our shop down the street, Nugs, and participated.
Is everything in Denver weed named?
It's right next to a place called Stoner's Pizza. It's ridiculous, but
Jesus.
yes. And guess what? We showed up on their 10th anniversary. BOGO scoop night, baby.
Oh man, I love a BOGO.
Oh, it was lit. We were. It was one of the best things that's happened over the
They
past.
saw you walking up and they had to roll out like 3 more tubs.
Boom, 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 boom.
We're actually going to get ice cream later today as well, for a little summer treat for the kids. And Nate's getting a scoop or two,
getting some cream in your tum tum, huh? All right. I just had to share that because it was very exciting. Jorge Lopez has.
I can't believe you waited this long into the podcast.
It's only for the real heads to know.
Uh-huh.
By the way, when I was in Chicago with some friends recently, and some people who listen to the podcast, and I was asking them if they were Ben heads or Nate heads, and I'm kind of curious. Tweet at us: are you a Ben head or a Nate head?
Oh God.
Or do you just hate us both? That's more likely. Okay, Jorge Lopez has been DFA'd from the Mets after a no good, very bad day, I think, as it was written in on Fangraphs. So what happened here? The Mets have been just god awful. Jorge Lopez had a particularly bad outing. Did not like how it went. After giving up a run and being pulled from the game, he threw his glove into the stands, which I was like, how sick would that be? I would love, like, I know, out of all things, I think a glove would probably be the number one thing I would want to, because I could use a glove, like playing catch and stuff.
I would love to catch a bat, but I think what would actually happen is it would kill me.
And a bat's
so I don't actually.
A bat's more on the wall, though. You know what I mean? Like, I could use a glove, like, and it's Jorge Lopez. So I'm not going to like enshrine that. Not that he's bad, just he's not, anyone special. But so anyways, he threw that, had a bad time, and he had a bad press conference where he basically said that the Mets suck. He sucks. It all sucks. And then the next day, the Mets DFA'd him, essentially for having a bad attitude. Kind of crazy. I don't really remember this ever happening. I remember like Steve Klein back in like the early or late 90s, early 2000s. There was some weird stuff like that going on that I can't really remember the details of. But just kind of a wild scenario here.
Yeah, I'm sure there are other situations we just maybe didn't happen as publicly as this one. And he did try to go back and he, I don't know, whether this was right or he's just trying to fix it. He said that like the translation of what he was trying to say came across wrong.
Being mad and being interviewed in your second language seems really hard.
Yeah. And so because what he said was, I'm on the shittiest team ever or something like that. And what he is what apparently, according to him, he was trying to say, I've been the shittiest teammate ever or something like that, which is a significantly different thing than what he said. So I don't know. I mean, it could be that's the truth. It could be he's just trying to fix it. But yeah, I mean, he got kicked.
Yeah. So I don't know, kind of a weird day. There was more complexities to the story that I don't think we need to dive into right now, but just kind of wild. But all right, that's all I got for league news.
I have one that you didn't add that I just wanted to touch on real quick. I don't know if you saw this, but an MLB insider has reported that Angel Hernandez retired mostly because of social media hate.
I did see that.
And I just want to say, we got him, boys. Jeff Albert, you're out of here. Angel Hernandez, you're out of here. Who else is next?
The non-automated strike zone. I don't know.
Yeah, you know what we say to that, Ben?
Wow, that was incredible. Can we bully Jerry Reinsdorf? Can we bully Jerry Reinsdorf out of owning a team? All right, thanks. This is great. Yeah. Just talking to a soundboard now.
This is great. I don't even have to be here. Yeah, like let's bully all the bad owners, which
John
is
Fisher,
pretty much all of them, to sell the team.
Yeah, send it back to the people. But that's I'm glad Angel Hernandez is gone. That does kind of bum me out though.
Yeah, I guess I'm torn on it. It sucks to be publicly bullied out of a position, or to feel so bad about your
right.
performance that you quit,
or the organization you work for felt like they had to do something. And Nate, I just
Yeah.
want to say, like, wouldn't it be chill if everybody was just like cool to each other, man?
Wow. Yeah, it's like, what do you wish for your birthday? Oh, world peace, obviously.
First that.
Yeah.
Second,
Yeah.
more free scoops. But first,
Yeah,
world
more
peace.
free scoops.
And so that's just where I'm coming from. That's just me.
Trying to think of, like, if you, as a sports podcaster, Ben, what's more important to you? Scoops for like hot info and content, or scoops when it comes to ice cream?
Definitely ice cream.
Yeah, I think so. I think definitely ice
without
cream.
A doubt.
All right, let's wrap up this episode. We've had a couple back-to-back weeks with guests and sort of off normal programming here. So this week we're returning to a classic game, fan favorite. Who is this guy? Does this ever work?
Who is this guy?
Suck today.
It's the soundboard is tricky. All right. If you're new to the show,
Clicking a button.
You don't get it.
All right.
All right.
All right.
I'm gonna social media bully you out of here.
Please do.
If you're new to the show, I have a series of clues about a Major League Baseball player who at some point has played for the St. Louis Cardinals. I will give the clues to Ben. They start vague and get increasingly more specific. And after each clue, Ben has to guess who it is. There are 5 total clues. Ben, are you ready?
Let's do it.
All right. This player was born May 12th, 1987 in Indianapolis, Indiana.
May 12th, 1987. Okay. You said Indianapolis?
Yep.
Who is a indie guy that's around my age? Indianapolis. My mind's going to Matt Holliday, but he's Oklahoma and older than that. Oh, you know what? That could be right. No, Ryan Helsley's. He's younger than I am. Is he from that part of the country? I don't know. Nolan Arenado is from California, and he's also younger than me. Damn, I'm old. Okay, yeah, because this person's what, like 38, something like that.
This person is 37. They would have turned 37 in May.
Yes. Okay. So
yeah, they're just a little older than me.
37-year-old from Indianapolis that played for the St. Louis Cardinals. Man, I don't know. Yeah, I'll just guess to get the next clue. I'll say Paul Goldschmidt.
No. Okay. This person played for, in no particular order, St. Louis, obviously, Yankees, Twins, White Sox, Texas Rangers, and the Los Angeles Dodgers.
Wow. Can you do that one more time, please?
St. Louis, Yankees, Minnesota, Rangers, White Sox, Dodgers.
Wow. White Sox and Dodgers. Yankees. Joe Kelly? No, he played for the Red Sox. And I don't think he's from Indianapolis. Wow. Yankees, White Sox, and Dodgers is very confusing. From Indianapolis. I don't know. This is not easy for my whittle brain. Not Luke Voigt. Luke Voigt's younger than me also. Damn it. Yeah, also, he didn't play for the Dodgers or the White Sox. Feels like that's like a relief pitcher's resume is kind of what I'm thinking right now. Just a lot of movement. Tommy Pham is from Las Vegas. Also, he hasn't played for half those teams. Never mind. Damn. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. A total guess. I don't even have a real guess, so I'm just going to say it's Giovanni DudeWaffles.
Love a callback to DudeWaffles. No, it is not DudeWaffles. All right. This player was drafted by the St. Louis Cardinals in the first round of the 2008 amateur draft.
Is it?
And made his debut in 2011.
Oh, wait, I was going to say Luke Weaver, but it's not Luke Weaver. Made his debut in 2007.
2011. He was drafted in 2008, made his debut in 2011.
Man, I'm thinking of so many players from that era. It's not Waka. It is it Greg Garcia? Did he ever? No, he played for the Padres. Dirty Dan was a Rocky, so it's not him. Somebody in that time frame. John Jay is no, it's not John Jay. Man, I don't know. Yeah, no idea. John Jay.
All right. I've really stumped you with this one. All right. His first name is Michael.
Yeah, that's not very. There's so many Michaels in baseball. I said Waka. It's not him.
I will give you a further hint on this. He does not go by Michael.
No, that doesn't help at all. Shelby Miller. I don't know.
No. All right. My last clue. He made his debut with the Cardinals in 2011 out of the bullpen, eventually transitioned to the rotation. And he drives a hot pink Bronco.
Oh, Lance Lynn.
Yep.
Did not know his first name was that.
It's Michael Lance Lynn.
Didn't know that.
I didn't know that either.
Who was I? Okay, wait. White Sox, Yankees. Yeah. Okay, Dodgers. I remember that. What was the other team you said?
He was with the Twins, which is where he went right after St. Louis.
Totally forgot that he played for would have never gotten that.
Yeah.
Not in a million years.
And then he was with the Rangers, and then he's with the White Sox.
God, that's so much movement.
The Dodgers
there's
acquired him.
No way I was going to get that. There's so much movement. I was convinced it had to be a relief pitcher, but I could not think of anyone.
Yeah.
Damn.
Well, you were getting a lot of these after like the first or second clue, so I have been trying to make it a little more challenging. Maybe I got to find the balance.
Yeah. No, I think I probably should have. I think following Lance Lynn's career path, I should have been able to get that, but that was not happening today.
Yeah. Well, there you go. That was Who Is This Guy? And that'll be it for this episode. We'll be back next week after we do some reporting on the field at Busch Stadium, grilling John Mozeliak, getting to the bottom of the problems. Maybe I'll wear like one of those old timey like reporters get ups, with like the little hat.
Yeah, put like a piece of paper in your hat brim or whatever the hell they used to
do.
My
visor or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, you should turn this into a freak show. That'd be a great idea. This opportunity.
You shouldn't have invited me. John Mozeliak, talking about birds here. My goal is to be banned.
Yeah, that's smart.
Yeah, people like that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll be back hopefully after another good week of Cardinal baseball against some bad to mediocre teams. Again, check out the Patreon and everything else at talkingaboutbirds.com. Give us a call, voicemail, text 848-48-BIRDS. We'll be back next week as always. And until then, go Cardinals.
Okay, thank you. Bye. Are you excited to spend a weekend with me?
No.